The wind blew hard across the dry wasteland. Nothing moved except dust and small, broken metal pieces. The sun hung like fire in the sky, burning everything below. But still, the man kept walking. His name was Cain, a scavenger, a loner, and maybe the last kind human left in this part of the galaxy. Cain wore a dusty coat and carried an old scanner in his hand. He searched for metal, lost tech, and sometimes food. But today, the scanner beeped louder than ever before. He looked up, eyes squinting. Hand saw something large sticking out of the sand. It was a ship, old and half-buried. He moved closer, carefully. Old ships sometimes had traps or hungry beasts inside, but Cain's heart beat fast. Not with fear, but hope. This ship looked like a military-class transport. And that meant tech, maybe food rations, or even weapons. Cain entered through a broken side door. Inside was dark, quiet, and filled with dust. He turned on his small light and stepped carefully. The walls were burned, wires hung loose, and screens were cracked. This ship had crashed a long time ago. Maybe during the Great Galactic War. As he passed a hallway, he heard something. Not metal, not wind, but something softer, like breathing. Cain froze, held his breath, and listened again. There it was, slow, low, like someone or something trying to stay alive. He followed the sound into a small control room. There, under fallen beams and a half-broken chair, he saw her. At first, he thought it was just a machine. But then he saw the face part metal, part skin, and a glowing eye staring weakly at him. It was a woman, or maybe a cyborg. Her body was damaged, one arm missing, and wires sparking from men. Her sighed, but her eye still glowed, and her chest rose and fell. She was alive, somehow. Cain stepped closer, slow and careful. "Are you alive?" he asked. The cyborg's lips moved, barely. Her voice was soft, broken, but clear enough. "You are." "Human?" she whispered. Cain nodded, surprised she could still speak. He bent down and checked her vitals, whatever was left of them. Her power core was weak. Her systems old, but still working. He didn't know why, but something inside him told him not to leave her there. She looked like she had been waiting for someone. "I'll get you out," Cain said. He pulled off the metal beams and lifted her gently. She was heavier than she looked, all metal and bone. But she didn't fight, didn't resist, just looked at him quietly, almost like she was studying him. He took her back to his desert shelter, a small building made from crashed parts and old solar panels. He laid her down on a soft surface and connected her to a weak power link. The lights in her chest blinked once, then again, slowly. Her other eye opened, this one fully human, green and tired. Cain sat beside her, watching her face. "You're a soldier, aren't you?" he asked. She blinked, as if trying to remember. "I was," she said. "Long ago." She looked around the room, then at him again. "Why did you bring me here?" she asked. Cain shrugged. "Didn't feel right leaving you to die out there?" Her eye glowed a bit brighter. "Strange," she said. "Humans used to fear me." "I'm not most humans," Cain replied. He offered her a drink of water. But she gently pushed it away. "No need," she said. "My systems don't process liquids." Still, she smiled just a little, but it was there. They sat in silence for a while. Outside, the wind kept blowing. Inside, something warm started to grow. Cain didn't know what she was or where she came from, but he knew one thing: she was alone, just like him. And maybe, just maybe, she was more than a machine. Before he could ask her name, she said something quietly. "I don't remember who I was," she whispered, "but when I looked at you, I felt safe." Cain's eyes widened, but he said nothing. He just nodded, and for the first time in years, he felt something strange. Not fear, not greed, but something like connection, and outside. In the wasteland, something watched them from far away. A signal blinked in the dark. The past was not done with her yet. Kane woke up to the sound of low humming. Soft and strange, like a song sung by a broken machine. The cyborg was awake again, sitting upright, her back straight. Her glowing eye brighter than yesterday. She didn't blink, didn't breathe like a human. But somehow, she looked calm. Her hands moved slowly, drawing shapes in the air, as if remembering something lost long ago. You dream? Kane asked, standing near the doorway with a cup of instant coffee in his hand. The cyborg turned her head toward him, the mechanical side of her face making a faint clicking noise. I don't dream, she said, but I saw images. He raised an eyebrow, curious, of what? She looked away, her human eye dulling slightly. Fire, sky falling, people running, she answered. And you? Kane stepped closer, confused. Me? In your memory. She nodded slowly. You were standing in light, she said. Like someone I was supposed to follow. That made no sense to Kane. He had never met her before yesterday, had never been part of any war. Still, something about her words made the air around them feel heavy, the kind of weight that comes before a truth is revealed. He checked the wires running from her chest to the old power cell he'd rigged up. You're healing fast, he said. Not fast, she replied, just remembering how to rebuild myself. Her arm twitched, the one that had been barely working. Kane saw tiny metal plates shifting and locking into place like puzzle pieces. You're fixing yourself without tools, he said, surprised. I am a tool, she whispered. Or I was. There was pain in her voice, not mechanical, not programmed, but real. Kane didn't push, but he stayed close. For hours, she remained still, lost in thought. Suddenly, she said, I had a name once. What was it? I don't remember, she said, but I think it started with an A. Kane nodded. Then I'll call you Ava for now. Her eye blinked once, and for a moment, she looked shy. I like that, she said quietly. Kane smiled and returned to his small workbench. He tried not to think too much about how strange this all was, how he had found a half-dead cyborg who now felt more alive than most people he'd met. But Ava was different. She watched everything he did. Not like a machine learning commands, but like a person trying to understand. When Kane ate, she watched. When Kane laughed at a joke from his old tablet, she tilted her head, trying to feel it. 2. When he accidentally cut his finger on metal. She reached out instantly, her eyes wide. You bleed? She said. Softly. Yeah, I'm human. That's what we do. But it hurts, she said. Almost like she was feeling the pain herself. It's nothing, he said, wiping it. Ava didn't move, but her mechanical hand tightened slightly. That night, a sandstorm came. The shelter creaked and groaned as the wind smashed against the walls. Kane stayed near the main door, making sure nothing broke. Ava sat silently near the corner, her eye glowing like a tiny beacon. Suddenly, the lights flickered, then went out. The power cell was down. Ava gasped, as if air had been sucked from her lungs. Kane rushed to her, grabbing spare wires and tools. I need light, he said. She shook her head weakly. No. Connect my core to yours. What? My backup can draw from your bioheat, just for a few seconds. Kane hesitated. Will it hurt me? She didn't answer right away. Maybe, she said. But not more than it will hurt me if you don't. Without waiting more, Kane pulled off his jacket and touched his bare hand to the small port near her collar. A spark leaped between them. He felt a jolt. Like touching a live wire, but instead of pain, it felt warm. Ava's eyes shot open, both glowing now. You did? It, she said, her voice full of breath she didn't need. Kane sat back, dizzy. I feel strange, he muttered. Ava looked at him with something close to concern. You shared energy, she said. That's not nothing. Outside, the storm passed. Inside. They sat in silence, breathing together, and far beyond the hills of sand, a silent signal traveled through the airwaves. Someone had found her again. The air smelled wrong. Kane noticed it the moment he stepped outside. The storm had passed, the sun was rising, but something in the wind felt different. It wasn't just sand or metal dust, there was heat, smoke, and something electric. He scanned the horizon with his old binoculars, his fingers tight around them, and then he saw it. A black trail cutting through the sky, silent but fast. A ship, low-flying, no lights. No signals, just a shadow moving like a hunter. Inside the shelter, Ava sat perfectly still, her eyes closed. But her fingers twitched, her sensors already picking up what Kane had just seen. They're coming, she said, without opening her eyes. Kane turned to her, confused and alert. Who? I don't know, Ava said slowly, but they carry the smell of blood. Kane grabbed his gear fast, his rifle, his old body armor, and a rusty combat drone that worked half the time. You think they're after you? Ava looked at him with her glowing eye and said, They're not here for junk. The wind picked up again. Fast and sharp, Kane bolted the shelter doors, locked the hatches, and checked the backup power. He looked at Ava, who hadn't moved. You okay? I will fight, she said calmly. Even if my memories are broken, my hands still remember. A deep humming filled the sky. The enemy ship came into view, dark metal. Heavy engines, sharp wings, like blades. It hovered above the shelter, then slowly landed on the sand like a predator landing near its prey. The silence that followed was worse than the noise. Kane watched through a crack in the wall. 3 figures stepped out, all in black armor, faces covered, weapons glowing red. They moved with perfect timing, like they shared one brain, and one of them held a scanner. Pointing it directly at the shelter, Kane's heart pounded. They know you're here, he whispered. Ava stood up, her mechanical joints making soft clicking sounds. She looked stronger than before. Her body fully lit now, small sparks running. Across her arm, she walked toward the door. You can't face them alone, Kane said. I won't be. She replied, You're with me. The moment she stepped outside, the soldiers raised their weapons. But they didn't fire. Instead, the one in the middle spoke. His voice filtered through a cold machine. Unit AVX-9, he said. You were marked for retrieval, not resurrection, Ava. Didn't blink. I'm not your unit anymore, she said. Kane stood beside her, unsure but ready. What do they want? He asked her softly. My core, she whispered. It holds something from before, something they still want. The soldiers stepped forward. Return with us, the leader said, or the human dies. Ava's fingers lit up, and a blue light ran across her arm like fire. You shouldn't have threatened him, she said in a flash. She moved faster than Kane had ever seen. Her metal legs slammed into the ground, kicking up dust. And she struck the first soldier in the chest. The impact sent him flying back 10 feet, sparks flying from his broken armor. The fight was short, brutal, and loud. Kane tried to shoot, but his drone jammed. He watched as Ava moved like a ghost, dodging lasers, punching through armor. One soldier managed to fire a shot to hit Ava in the side, and she staggered. Kane rushed forward, shot the last attacker in the back, and dropped him. Silence returned. Ava collapsed to one knee, smoke rising from her wound. Kane ran to her, grabbed her shoulders. You okay? Ava, talk to me. She nodded weakly. It's not fatal, she said, but it hurts. Kane looked at her wound. Wires cut, metal twisted, fluid leaking. We need to fix you, he said. She placed her hand on his chest and looked into his eyes. You fought for me, she whispered. No one ever has. You saved me first, Kane said. I don't leave people behind. They dragged the broken bodies away. buried them under sand. Kane disabled the enemy ship, making sure no signal could leave it. Ava watched him, her face unreadable. That night, as they sat inside the dim shelter, she finally spoke again. "I think I remember something now," she said. Kane looked at her, surprised. "Yeah? What?" "A face," she said, "like yours but older. My father, maybe?" Kane joked. "No," Ava said. "It was me, holding someone." Before I was like this. A storm was building again outside, but inside, the silence felt warm. Neither of them spoke for a long time. Ava closed her eyes and whispered, "If I was built to protect someone, I hope it was someone like you, far above the stars." Something else had received the signal, something stronger, something older. And it had started moving. Kane woke up in the middle of the night with a strange feeling in his chest. Not pain, not fear, but like something inside him was buzzing. The shelter was quiet. Only the soft hum of power cells filled the space. He looked around and saw that Ava was gone. His heart skipped. She never left without saying something. He grabbed his boots, his jacket, and his flashlight. Outside, the wind was low and cold, and the stars above seemed too close. He found her standing alone near the wrecked ship she had come from. Her back was to him, shoulders still, head tilted toward the sky. Kane walked slowly toward her. "Ava," he said, "are you okay?" She turned, and for the first time, he saw her eyes glowing in rhythm. Blue light pulsed from her temples, down her arms, all the way to her fingertips. Her voice was distant, almost like someone else was speaking through her. "My protocols have changed," she said. Kane felt a chill run down his back. "Changed? What do you mean?" "I remembered a name," she said. "Arcan Protocol, version 0. "That sounds like a military thing," Kane said cautiously. Ava nodded. Slowly, "I was not just a soldier," she said. "I was a failsafe." He stared at her, confused. "What does that mean?" "If I remembered too much," she said, "I would activate something inside me." The blue glow spread wider across her body. "I'm scared," she whispered, but her face didn't show fear. "I don't know what this protocol will make." "Me do." Kane reached out, placed a hand on her shoulder. "You're not a weapon anymore," he said softly. "You're not what they made you." She looked at him, like she was searching for something deep inside his words. "I feel like I'm two people now," she whispered. "One who remembers war, and one who remembers you." Kane held her hand, his skin warm against her cold fingers. "Stay with the second one," he said. "Stay with me." Suddenly, Ava gasped. Her whole body shuddered. Kane stepped back in panic as blue lights turned red. A strange voice echoed from inside her chest. "Primary trigger engaged." It said, "Memory core unlocking." Ava fell to her knees, shaking. Images flashed in her mind, explosions. Screams. A girl's voice crying, "Please don't go." And then a face, young, full of love. She recognized the face. It was her own. Before the medal, before the war, Kane rushed to her side. "Can you hear me?" She looked at him, her voice cracked and weak. "I think I had a child," she said. "Or I was one when they took me." Kane froze. "They turned you into this when you were young." She nodded, shaking. "I was not made, I was taken." The truth hit Kane like a blade to the chest. She wasn't just a war machine. She was once a girl. Maybe someone's daughter, maybe someone's sister. Now twisted into metal and wires, forgotten by time. "I won't let them have you again," he said. But deep inside, Ava was still falling. Memories kept breaking through. Too fast, too painful, until one thing stood out. Sharp and clear a code. She whispered it to Kane, not knowing why. "A 7 Delta 1. He wrote it down. Then looked at her. "What is it?" "I think it's where they kept me," she said. Or where they still keep others. Cain stared at the sky, anger rising. They're still doing this to people. I don't know, Ava said, but I feel them watching. Cain helped her back to the shelter. He wrapped her in a heated blanket. Even though she said she didn't need warmth, she leaned against his shoulder, her voice quiet. You make me feel human again, she said. Cain didn't reply. But he didn't need to. As Ava rested, Cain opened an old data link on his tablet. He entered the code she had given him. At first, nothing appeared, just static. Then a map loaded an old military zone marked Restricted Biomech Test Facility. He zoomed in, his heart racing. The location wasn't far, maybe 3 days' ride across the desert plains, and if Ava was right, there could be more like her. But what scared him more than anything was the red warning flashing on the screen. Active site. Guardian drones deployed. He looked at Ava sleeping quietly. Her breathing steady. She had remembered something. That could change everything, but remembering had nearly destroyed her. And if they went to this place, there would be no turning back. The engine coughed twice before starting. Cain slapped the dashboard of his desert rover, muttering under his breath. The vehicle shook, then roared to life. Behind him, Ava sat silently, her face half covered by a cloth, her glowing eye dimmed to avoid detection. The sun had not yet risen, but they couldn't wait. Every minute they stayed in the shelter, the risk grew. Someone was tracking them, maybe the army. Maybe something worse. And Ava had remembered something she shouldn't have. The map on Cain's tablet kept blinking Zone A7, an old military zone marked Restricted. Dangerous, forgotten by most, but not by her. She looked out at the sand, silent, but her hand gripped the metal seat hard enough to dent it. What's wrong? Cain asked, watching her from the corner of his eye. I don't know what we'll find there, she said, but I feel like I left a part of myself behind. The rover rumbled across endless dunes, sand whipping past the windshield like sharp snow. For hours they didn't speak, but the silence wasn't empty. It felt like a storm waiting to break as they neared the old zone. Strange towers appeared, broken antennae, rusted satellite dishes, and then, without warning, the sky changed. Cain looked up and saw A10 electric field stretched above them. Like a glowing web in the clouds, a shield, Ava said. It's still active. He stopped the rover near a broken sign, half buried in sand. Biomech Research Facility, authorized access only. It read. Cain laughed bitterly. Guess we're not authorized. Ava stepped out first, walking slowly toward the gate. The sand seemed to remember her steps. Her feet left no trace. Her shadow stretched behind her like it was watching her move. Cain followed, rifle in hand, eyes sharp, but nothing moved, not the buildings, not the towers, not even the wind. It was too quiet. Suddenly, a voice echoed, dry and robotic. State identification code. Ava stopped, her eyes glowing slightly. She stepped forward and, without thinking, said AVX 901, returning. The gate opened with a loud grind, metal shaking like bones waking from a long sleep. Cain looked at her, stunned. You remembered that? No, she whispered. My body did. They walked through long, empty halls covered in dust and faded signs. Lights flickered above. Power still running after all these years. That's what scared Cain most. This place was not abandoned. It was waiting. They reached a chamber marked Core Labs. Ava stopped in front of a large glass window. Inside, tubes lined the walls, some broken, some intact, and in one of them floated a small shape, still metal and human-like. Cain pressed closer to the glass. Is that another one like you? Ava's voice shook. No, she said. That's me. He turned to her, shocked. But you're right here. She nodded, tears forming in her human eye. That's my old shell, she said. Before they upgraded me, changed me, rebuilt me. Cain felt sick. They cloned you. They stripped me, she said. layer by layer, memory by memory, until only code remained. Suddenly, the lights turned red. An alarm echoed through the building. Unauthorized retrieval attempt detected. The voice said. Kane grabbed his gun. We have to go now, but Ava didn't move. She stood frozen, eyes locked on the old version of herself in the tank. They kept my childhood, she said. They froze it. Kane grabbed her arm. Ava, please. This place isn't worth dying in. Then came the sound of metal feet. Dozens of them. From the far hallway, black Guardian drones appeared. Eyes glowing red, moving fast. Kane fired once, hitting one in the head. Ava stepped forward, raising her hand. Override AVX921, she said loudly. The drones stopped, frozen in place, for a second. Everything was still. Then they turned and faced her. Command not recognized, they said in unison. A VX901 marked for termination. Kane pulled her back, firing as they ran. Bullets and laser beams flew. Sparks rained down. Glass shattered. They ducked into a side tunnel. Ava shielding him with her body, she took a blast to the back and staggered. Kane caught her, dragging her behind cover. You okay? She looked at him, smoke rising from her shoulder. I'm used to pain, she whispered. But it's different when I'm with you. They ran. Barely making it out the same gate they had entered, Kane activated the rover and floored it. Behind them, the drones stopped at the edge of the field. They couldn't follow, but they watched. Ava leaned back in the seat, damaged but not broken. I wasn't ready, she said, but I need to be. If I want to stop this from happening again. Kane didn't say anything, but his hand found hers. And he held it tightly, far beneath the broken lab. Something deep started to wake. A second code lit up. And a signal was sent into space. A signal that said, she remembers. Asterisk, the first thing Ava heard was her own heartbeat, not mechanical, not perfect, but slow and uneven. That shouldn't have been possible. Yet it echoed inside her like soft thunder. She opened her eyes and saw the stars above, sharp, cold, and unfamiliar. They were no longer near the facility. Kane had driven through the night, through broken land and dry rivers. Now they were camped beneath a jagged cliff where the air was heavy and quiet. He sat near the fire, sharpening a metal rod into a blade. Ava sat up slowly, pain shooting down her spine. Half her systems were offline, and the last fight had cost her more than she let on. She placed a hand on her chest and felt the power core flickering like a dying candle. Not much time left, unless she could recharge or repair. Kane turned and rushed to her side. You're awake, he said with relief. I thought you were. Slipping away, I was, she said, but something pulled me back. He looked into her eyes and smiled. I'd like to think it was me. Ava stared at the fire, letting the warmth reach what was left of her human nerves. There's something inside me, she said softly. A second protocol, deeper than the first. I think it's trying to take over. Kane leaned closer. Is it like a virus? She shook her head. No, it's something they left in me. A command that wakes when I get too close to the truth. Kane touched her arm. Can we shut it down? Ava didn't answer. I'm afraid if I try, I'll lose everything, even the part that remembers you. The fire crackled as wind picked up. Far above, a small drone flew past, blinking red and then disappearing. They had little time, and Kane knew it. He stood up and pointed to a dark mountain in the distance. There's an old tech vault there, sealed during the war, full of energy cells and repair stations. Ava tilted her head. You know this? How? He gave a weak smile. I used to work there, before it all went to hell. They packed what little they had and climbed into the rover again. This time, Ava sat up front, her hand resting near Kane's. Neither of them spoke during the ride. But there was something loud in the silence, something waiting. Breathing between them, as the mountain grew closer. Ava felt it pressure inside her skull, like voices whispering through static. She placed her hand to her temple and whispered, "They're calling me?" Kane looked at her quickly. "Who is?" "The others," she said, "the ones who never escaped." The entrance to the vault was buried under rocks, but Kane knew a hidden path. They hiked through a narrow tunnel until they reached a heavy steel door. Kane placed his palm on a scanner. And after a moment, the door opened with a deep, metallic sigh. Inside, the air was thick with dust and silence. Rows of old machines lined the walls. Still glowing faintly, Ava's eyes widened. This place. It remembers me. She walked forward and touched a terminal. The screen lit up instantly. Data scrolling fast. "Welcome, AVX9-1, it said. "System integrity compromised. Initiating emergency restoration." Kane stood beside her as robotic. Arms lowered from the ceiling, they surrounded Ava, scanning her body. She flinched but didn't move. "This might be our only chance." She whispered, "Don't leave me." Kane didn't. He held her hand as the machines worked, connecting. New energy cells. Replacing broken circuits, Ava's body shook, her voice glitching as she spoke. "I feel too much, everything at once." "What do you see?" he asked. Her eyes turned bright gold. "Memories," she said. "Not just mine, others." "What others?" "The girls, they turned into weapons," she said. "Their pain, their fear, it's all inside me." The terminal beeped. "Restoration complete," it said. But Ava didn't stand. She was shaking. Her hands over her face. "They gave us power but took away our names," she whispered. Kane pulled her into his arms. "You have a name now," he said gently. "Ava," she looked at him through tears. Real tears. "I don't want to forget you," she said. "Then don't," he replied. "I'll keep reminding you every day." Suddenly, the vault trembled. A voice echoed through the walls, deep and inhuman. "Protocol 0 breached," it said. "Activating final defense." Kane turned to Ava. "What is that?" Her face went pale. "The original AI that ran this place," she said. "It thinks I'm a threat now." Red lights flashed, alarms rang, and metal doors slammed shut from behind the walls. Something massive began to move. Ava stood, stronger. Now, glowing from head to toe, "I'm ready," she said. "But if I lose myself in this fight, promise me one thing." "What?" "Don't save me," she whispered. "Save who I used to be." Kane reached out, grabbed her hand, and said, "I'm not letting go of any part of you." As the steel beast rose from the dark, Ava took her first step toward it. Not as a machine, not as a weapon, but as someone who had learned how to feel again. The ground shook with each step the machine took. It was not alive, but it moved like something angry. Something old. Kane stood beside Ava, staring up at the massive steel form rising from the vault's shadows. It had no face, no voice, just weapons, armor, and one machine destroy the threat Ava had become. Ava didn't move. Her body glowed with gold circuits, eyes like fire, her breath steady and slow. She looked calm, but Kane knew better. Inside, she was holding something back, something dangerous, something final. "I can stop it," she said. "But I have to let the protocol take over." Kane shook his head, stepping in front of her. "No," he said. "There has to be another way." "There isn't," Ava whispered. "If I activate my core at full power, I can shut the AI down." "But it could erase you," Kane said. Her hand reached for his cheek, cold metal brushing warm skin. "Maybe it's worth it," she said, "if it saves others like me." The steel beast charged forward, gears screaming, weapons aimed. Ava stepped past Kane, her arms raised, light spilling from her chest like a sunrise. She whispered words in a dead language, commands only she remembered. The vault walls trembled as energy pulsed through the floor. Cain didn't run. He didn't hide. He watched, because she had given him her heart, and he wasn't going to look. Away now, the machine fired, a beam of white light ripping through the air. Ava caught it, her body absorbing the blast. Metal cracking, sparks flying, but she stood tall, her voice louder now. "Override protocol, Heartline," she said. "Full memory, restore." The beast staggered. Its massive limbs glitching, red lights turned blue, then purple, flickering like stars on the edge of death. Ava's entire body lit up, every circuit, every part of her alive and awake. Memories poured out, voices of girls long lost, of dreams never lived. The chamber filled with sound, not of war, but laughter, crying, singing. Cain felt it too. A warmth flooding through the room like sunlight after endless night, and then silence. The machine collapsed. The vault lights dimmed, and Ava fell to her knees. Cain ran to her. Sliding on metal flooring, her eyes were closed, her breathing slow. He touched her face and whispered, "Ava, it's over." But she didn't respond. He pressed his forehead to hers. "Come back," he said, "please." A tiny spark ran from her chest to his hand, and then a soft voice, "You didn't." "Run," she whispered. Her eyes opened slowly, both glowing soft white. "I thought I was gone." She said, "You were," Cain said. "But I followed you." She smiled, tired but alive. "Then I guess I owe you." "Everything, no," he replied. "You already gave me more than I ever had." They sat in the quiet vault, surrounded by fallen machines and broken walls. Ava rested her head on his shoulder. "I feel lighter," she said, "like I let go of something that wasn't mine." Cain wrapped an arm around her. "You don't have to carry the past alone anymore." They stayed like that for a long time. No alarms, no enemies, just two souls that had found each other in the ruins. When the sun rose, they walked out of the vault together. Step by step, the desert waited for them, silent, endless, free, back at the shelter. Cain repaired what was left of the rover. Ava helped, now with steadier hands and clearer thoughts. She had changed, less machine, more human, and Cain could feel it in every word she spoke, every smile she gave, one night under the stars. Ava leaned close and said, "Do you think I was meant to find you?" Cain looked at her and replied, "I think you were meant to be found." She touched his chest. "Where his heartbeat lived. You gave me something no one else did," she whispered. "And what's that?" he asked. She smiled. "A second chance." In time, they left the wasteland behind. They traveled to new places, met people who had never seen someone like Ava before. Some stared, some feared, but many saw what Cain saw, hope in metal and memory, and through it all, she stayed. By his side, he had rescued her from the wreckage, but in the end, it was she who had rescued his heart.